understanding Satan and his operations. So how to understand Satan and how the satanic kingdom is built. Understanding Satan and his kingdom and his operations. So that's what we're going to be talking about mainly. Not just today. It's going to take me like for another maybe few weeks just for me to be able to break down how understanding Satan and how he operates. So, but today I'm starting this series by talking about my family. So that people who say I don't have any experience of what Africa is, I don't understand them, and I've been living in Europe for too long, I don't know the reality of what's on ground, I don't understand satanic attack, you will now hear my story and know that I do know what satanic attack is all about. So again, if you have invited your friends, if you have invited as many people as you could invite, I would like to start the story today. So today's topic is how I lost 3 prominent family members. Now, in Nigeria in the 70s, there used to be just one newspaper. Can you believe it? In Nigeria in the 70s, there used to be just one newspaper. And that newspaper was called Daily Times. Now, on Sundays, they call themselves Sunday Times. But on ordinary days, it's just Daily Times. There used to be other little newspapers, but they were not. This was a national daily. That was the most prominent national daily. So when I say it used to be the only newspaper, it doesn't mean that it's the only newspaper that existed in the country, but it's the nationally recognized daily. That Daily Times was a national. It was actually run by the government. It was a nationally run newspaper company. Observer was not national because Observer was more Bende State, and it came later on. I'm talking about 60s, 70s, early 70s. So if you go to, if you appear on Nigerian Daily Times, if there is a news that appears on Nigerian Daily Times and it's not government news, that news must be really big. That news must be really, really big. Now, my story that I'm about to talk about now, it actually appeared in the national newspaper of Nigeria. In June, the first Sunday of June, 1973. So if you go to the archive of Daily Times or Sunday Times, and you look for the story. That's how I got to know, because I was small. In 73, I was just 6 years old. So, but when I grew up, when I was about to write my biography, I have a book that is called Olorunwa. So Olorunwa is my biography. It's a storybook. It's on sale on Amazon. So. So when I was writing that, I was trying to look for our story because I knew that it was a prominent story. It was a big story in the country. And I knew it was reported in newspapers. So I was looking for the newspapers since it was Daily Times, it was easy. So, but I was lucky enough for me. I didn't know that that Daily Times, I think they have closed down now. Maybe they have closed down or they have reopened in another way. But I think they are just now electronic newspapers. Anyway, but this was 10 years ago. I went into the internet. There was already internet, thank God. And I went to archive of Daily Times. Guess what? Here was my story, Adelaja. And it was written there, a family is in in fact, the copy of the newspaper is in my book. I put that newspaper the story from the newspaper in my Olorunwa book. So it says, a family lost 3 prominent members in 6 months. Then he put the picture of my brother, my uncle, my brother, and the other brother. He put the picture of 2 brothers on the front page. This was the time when Gowon was the president, and it was just Nigeria just finished the civil war. Nothing about the war. Nothing about Awolowo, nothing about Nnamdi Azikiwe, nothing about the president, nothing about the military council. The whole front page of this newspaper, the national newspaper of Nigeria, was carrying my family story. So any one of you can check it out, just for you to know when I'm talking, that I know what I'm talking about when I'm about to narrate this story to you. So it put the picture of two of my brothers and says, and the topic was, a family lost 3 prominent members in 6 months. Is this a curse? Is this a tragedy or a curse? The throat, tragedy or a curse? A tragedy or a curse? So it was talking, of course, mainly about Dr. Adelaja, who was the firstborn of my grandmother, of our family, and was the most senior. This was news. This was Daily Times. Daily Times. It was called Daily Times. Maybe it was. You could say it is Sunday Times, either Daily Times or Sunday Times, because on Sundays I think it was a Sunday edition, so it was called. It will be Sunday Times. So this was a big story in the country. I mean, the country stood still. So what is the situation like? I mean, and people who come from that Ijebu area, they will know, I mean, if they are old enough, they will know what we are talking about, because everybody ran away from Idomila. I come from Idomila, and that's why I always talk about Idomila. I always talk about it, because Idomila was known as a village that everybody had to run away from, as a village of curse or curses, as a cursed village. And my grandmother that gave birth to these children was regarded as a cursed woman and as a witch, maybe, by some people. And that was the person who brought all of us up. So how can a mother bring everybody up and then just, suddenly want them to die? Anyway, let me start from the beginning. So who are these people to me? Now, in Africa, my grandfather, the Papa Adelaja, was the head of the village. As the head of the village, he was not a king, but he was called Bale at that point. As the head of the village, he was also the head of he was also like a medicinal doctor, like a herbalist. And as the head of the village and a herbalist, he had 12 wives. So my grandmother was just one of the wives. And my grandmother had a son. That son was called Kola Adelaja, or Akolade Adelaja. Kola Adelaja. Now, Kola Adelaja was the firstborn from my mother's side. So, the grandfather had many wives, but this is my own direct mother line now. So our grandmother had the first child, Kola Adelaja. Then the second one was my mother. So you see the relation now. The second child was my mother, but she was a woman. And then the third born was a son, Demori Adelaja. Now, because the second child was a daughter with my mother, in the 40s and 50s, something was happening there in Nigeria. They didn't believe in spending money on girl child. Okay. So if you're a girl child, you don't go to school. So this first child, who is Kola Adelaja, was sent to school. And it was good. It was very good. All my siblings still believe that that's the brightest person from our family up to now. So he was exceptionally bright. It was actually in the first set of University of Nigeria in Nsukka. The people who are from Nigeria know we have a University of Nigeria that is located in Nsukka. And so this my brother was the first year student in that university. Now this my brother that I'm talking about, so that you know it's not a far-fetched story. He was the senior of Pastor Adeboye, E.A. Adeboye, by 2 years in the university. So this man was 2 years senior to Baba Adeboye in the university. So it's a life story. It's a story that could be verified. And he was an active guy. He was, always very brilliant. Then when he finished, his university in Nsukka, he got a federal government scholarship to go study in the top university in Europe at that time. And he's still one of the top universities in Europe. In England, I think the top university is Oxford, yeah? But in France, the top university in France is called Sorbonne. Sorbonne. Sorbonne that's the popular name they call it, but it's like University of France or University of something like that. But the real popular name is Sorbonne. Sorbonne is it's always been one of the top universities. Now, when this man was in Sorbonne, he met an English lady. She's still alive today, who came because he was studying French, and she also was learning French in England. And then she came as an exchange student to France to study French. And that's where they met my brother, and they married. So then after his PhD, he was doing his PhD. Then he moved to England, taught a little bit in University of Leeds, because the wife was from Leeds area. So taught York. But he taught at the University of Leeds. They were together with another prominent Nigerian. They were classmates with Akin. He was a foreign minister. What they call it? Bolaji Akinyemi, I think. I think it's called Bolaji Akinyemi. He was a foreign minister for Nigeria during the time of Babangida. He was a foreign minister for Nigeria. I think Bolaji Akinyemi, they call him. If anybody remembers, you could write that. I think so. I think it's Bolaji Akinyemi. So they were friends. That Bolaji Akinyemi also married an English lady. So that is the first one. But when he got back to Nigeria, Bolaji Akinyemi, that's the name. So this Bolaji Akinyemi used to come to our village. They used to sit down there, and we used to, professor. So these were colleagues. So both my brother was also a professor. He was a professor at University of Ife, and working at the foreign office, Nigerian foreign office. He was the editor. This my brother called Adelaja was the editor of Nigeria. Used to produce a magazine. They used to call either New Nigeria or something Nigeria. So, just to talk about Nigeria to the world. So Kolawole Adelaja used to be the editor, and they were colleagues with. They were both lecturers in University of Ife with Bolaji Akinyemi, and they were working in the foreign ministries together. So everything was good. And then the second, my mother didn't go to school, so she went to marry. She got to marry. Then she gave back to me. But, she got into a wrong marriage. And as a result, she left me in the village with my grandmother. So that same mother that gave birth to all of them, my grandmother, because my mother took me back because she divorced with her husband because they had a bad marriage. So she took me back to the village to her mother, and she herself got married to another person in another state. So I was growing up with the grandmother who gave birth to all these people. And I was thinking that everybody thought I was the last born because, I was the last one. I was the smallest in the family. But most people didn't know that I was the son of this daughter because she had married and went over. So I was thinking that was my mother. My grandmother was my mother. You've been hearing me talk about my grandmother. That is the grandmother that gave birth to all these people. So the third born, who was the one after my mother now, went to University of Ibadan. And he finished there and then started working in the Ministry of Statistics in Nigeria. So he was well placed. He was an assistant to the Minister of Statistics that time, doing well. Everybody was good. Then there was another one who is a woman that was about the same age with my mother, but she was now coming from another mother. I told you that our grandfather had all these wives, right? 12 wives. And so this other woman, lady, she was also not sent to school. My mother was not sent to school. She was also not sent to school, but she was sharp. She was sharp in business. My mother was just a regular lady. But the other, her sister, who was from another mother, but of the same father, she was so sharp that even though our firstborn went to university, lived abroad, was very well to do, a professor, a lecturer, top. He was always on this Adelaja Kolawo. They was always on. They used to have a program on television, Ibadan television that time, current affairs. This, my brother, was always, every week, always, at least once or twice a week, always on current affairs. He was the one commenting on all the current foreign relations of Nigeria, because he was the editor of the magazine. So he was always on television all the time. But despite that, this lady, this other lady, was richer than all of them. She was the millionaire. She was a wealthy, she was the wealthiest in the family. Even though she didn't go to school, but she married, and she was owing, there is something they call, is it Bedroom Market or something in Ibadan? She was based in Ibadan. Dugbe or Dugbe Market in Ibadan. So she had the largest, in the 70s, the largest material, cloth material kind of market, store over there. She controlled everything. She was so big. So this, now look what happened. Dugbe, yeah. Look what happened. In all these three people, yeah, just I'll hold on to you. So, can you believe it that all these people that I'm talking about, apart from my sister, about my mother, that's the professor, that's Kolawole Adelaja, the brother, Demore Adelaja. Those are the two pictures that were in the newspaper, in the Daily Times newspaper, front page. The sister's picture was not there. And then the sister, this one that was the she was not the most prominent, but the richest, the wealthiest in money. Three of them, all of them, those were the only successful people, because my mother, who was between them, was not even educated, and she didn't go to school, and she just got to marry, and then she remarried. Then the next one after all these people was my brother Tai in Lagos, in Moscow now. He was just 16 years old at this point. Apart from my mom, it was Tai, and he was only 16 when this happened. In 6 months, not in 6 years, not in 16 months, in 6 months, less than a year, 6 months, that is from December to May, all of them, everybody has died. Everybody that was everybody was dead in 6 months. It was just like a terrible, mind-blowing dream. It was a cause of that is beyond comprehension, beyond. The priest that was there, he also was Adelaja. He was coming every 3 months to bury somebody, every 2 months to bury another Adelaja. He was just saying, last 2 months we were here to bury one Adelaja. Now we are here again to bury the next Adelaja. Now we are back to bury another Adelaja. My mother, when she heard about the death of the last one, my grandmother that is, she just collapsed. She just collapsed like that. Bam! For the next 1 year, she didn't come back to her senses. She was in emergency or in the ward for 1 year. She just lost it. She just lost it. And I was the only one left in the village. All of us were in college and in boarding school. I didn't know what was. Everybody ran away for their lives. Everybody picked race. Everybody picked race. That Bolaji Akiyemi was the minister. They were in our village all the time. They were coming. Everybody took from my mother. Everybody just took off. Everybody took off from the door. Everybody started on the way. It was our uncle, one of our uncles, which I will tell you the story later on, Banjoko. He took up my brothers. He gave scholarship. My brother, who was 16, was finishing secondary school, but he had to give him the money to finish secondary school. Took my sister, Alaide. That's how my sister Alaide started living with the Banjokos in Ibadan. That's how it grew up together with the Banjokos. And then it gave another ID, my other brother, scholarship to secondary school. Everybody just took off. Everybody took off for their lives. In 6 months. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. This is somebody that was studying. This is the first doctorate holder in the old vicinity, Ijebu vicinity like that. I mean, not the old Ijebu land, but our own Idomila, Ijebu area. I mean, who was in 20-something. He was already a doctorate holder by 30 he was just 34 years old when he died. And the brother was 29 years old. And it was just a horrible, 3 people and the woman. So let me tell you how this happened. Maybe you are interested in knowing how this happened. So if you are talking about Ijebu, I am an Ijebu man. And if you are talking about witchcraft, believe me, I don't know any other family that has had that kind of stunt with witchcraft. The witchcraft that we had encounter with, because at this time, when the father, our grandfather, the patriarch of the family, when he was alive, nothing was happening like this. He was a strong man, like the way people say it in our language, in our area. He was a strong man. He was a herbalist by excellence by himself. He was a herbalist. He was the head of the village. He was a herbalist, a witch doctor. He was okay. And everybody was safe. No problem. Nobody was dying. Once he died first. So he died and everybody was doing well. But after him, in 6 months, all his children, poo. I'm not even talking about others yet, but I'll get to others. But these are just from my own lineage. So what happened? Let me tell you what happened. That woman that I said was the business tycoon, who was the welfare, it was the lady with the market in Ibadan. She was traveling for a business trip. She was not driving, she had a driver. That time, it was a Mercedes-Benz. She was in the car at the back, the driver was there, and accident. She died on spot. Ooh. So that was the first death. This was November. This was November 1972. So they now put the Nigeria, the burial always takes some time, a month. So it took a month for the burial. So the burial was in December. December, after the burial, just before Christmas, they wanted to bury her before they enter the new year, all those kind of stories. So they buried her maybe on the 23rd or 22nd of December before Christmas. So on Christmas Day, the whole family came to Ijebu for the burial. So the junior brother, which is not the professor was engaged. He didn't, but the junior brother from the Ministry of Statistics, he was the one who came to Ijebu for the burial of the sister. On his way back, he had an accident and died on spot. A month later. The girlfriend, he was not married that day morning. The girlfriend, the fiancé, they had just done engagement and they were planning to marry. She survived it. He died on the spot. The only Adelaja, prominent Adelaja that was left was this professor. When he had, even though he was teaching in University of Ife, and he was, doing commentator work at the Ibadan television. So he was staying in Ibadan. It was actually at a point he was actually staying in Banjoko's house. So anyway, when he had that, the sister had just been buried, on the way from the burial of the sister, that the brother died, he just went into a deep depression. Or we didn't know what it is. There's an hospital in Ibadan, a prominent hospital. I think it should still be there. They used to call UCH or something. Yeah, UCH. I think it was a teaching hospital or something. They put 16 doctors. The federal government attached 16 doctors to him to find out what was happening. He would not eat. He would be talking and saying, Maureen, we didn't agree like this. What happened? Where are you? What is happening? What are our plans? And so he just started talking to himself and, saying what is happening. He has a wife. The wife, Susan, she's alive right now. She's in the UK. She went back to the UK after. They had 2 girls, 2 daughters. They are there right now in the UK. Rome Canton, UK. They were growing up. He was a happy. He likes to swim because he was in Europe. He liked to take the wife to UCH. I mean, somewhere there to swim. They used to go to swim every night. I mean, he likes swimming a lot. And the wife, because the wife was a white lady and it's always hot in Africa, so she enjoys swimming. So he was saying, "Oh, don't go to swim." He was always driving the wife to swim. I mean, he stopped driving the wife to swim. He would not go to swim himself. He rejected all the appointments on the television. He would not go and comment. He would not go to work. He just went into deep darkness. 5 months later, this was in December when his brother died. He would not eat. He would not do anything. They admitted him. They said they couldn't find what is happening. They were just trying to encourage him. In May, he too died. Everything finished. Our whole world collapsed. What is this? Kilo Shelek. What is this? What is the explanation? So that's why I said this thing hit the news wave that even the national newspaper, the only single regular national daily, that was Daily Times, carried it first page with his picture and the picture of his brother and telling the whole story. I remember I would never forget that day in my life because I was sleeping. 5 o'clock in the morning. Normally, you don't wake up 5 o'clock in the morning. Somebody just came in and woke me up roughly. I said, what's happening? Then I woke up, I saw my mother. I was just 6 years old. My mother had collapsed. Everybody was in our eyes. Darkness came to visit us in a bad way. But the darkness that came after this was even worse than the darkness because everybody did. My mother lost her consciousness. She was taken to the hospital. My brother, who was from school, they expelled him from school. I mean, everybody just came. I mean, and we couldn't find anybody. Everybody was saying, run away, run away. Because that is the mentality we have in Africa. I mean, this couldn't be happening in one family. 3 prominent, not just, if I had been the one that had died, nobody would have, no problem. If it is my mother who didn't go to school, no problem, let her die. I mean, that is no problem. If it had been other ones, Taye, who was just 16, or Idowu, or Alaba, all of them who are young, no problem, you know. But the 3 most prominent members of the family. Everybody in Africa knew that is witchcraft right there. Everybody knew, I mean, because the father, the head of the family was no more there. When he was there, no problem. So that is the biggest. I mean, it just disrupted our family. We couldn't go to school. My mother was in the hospital. That is when this woman at this point was already not working because at a point when she was working after the husband died. And the work she was doing was to go to the bush and get firewood and do firewood and things like that. So when the children came back from overseas, they came back to tell her, you will never work again. I mean, you've trained up your children. You don't have a husband. So she was not working. She would go and spend time with the Oyibos, they used to call them, with the daughter-in-law and the children. They used to, I mean, she would just go and just spend time with take care of the children. And she was not working for like 10 years or 5 years. So I grew up like that. We were not working. She was taking care of me. The junior brother that died, the Demorin, would come with the car, take me to school. That's the life we were having that time. But when this happened, she was discharged after 1 year from the hospital. After 1 year. And that 1 year, I was just going, just all over the place, just in the village by myself. Everybody was scared. Then she told me when she came back that you are the only one left. You are the only one I have now. I don't need to leave, but I have to leave because of you. Because Taiwo is in school, Idowu is in school, Alaba, Banjoko have taken care. Idowu, Banjoko has put him in school. You are the only one left here. So I don't have to leave, but because of you, I have to go back to the bush. So my grandmother took me at 6 years old, and we started going back to the bush because she couldn't find any help. She couldn't find anybody. So that's how we started going to the bush again, all over again. I was not aware that she used to go to the bush before. She says, that's what I did before your brothers grew up, and they told me not to work again. Now no help, nothing to fall back. We have to go back to the bush. So we started going back to the bush to cut trees and dry trees. I mean, she's a woman. She had to be cutting trees with cutlass, falling trees, dry the trees. And we started carrying them in the head. She will carry it in her head. I will carry it my own. I mean, from that time, I went to play one day, I lost my shoe. I never wore shoe till I was 14 or 12 or something from that time. But I mean, there was no time for shoes. I'm going to the bush. That was where I got all my wounds in my legs. If you come show and check my legs now, you will see all the wounds. I have more than 200 scars of wounds in my legs. Because, you know, thorns and thistles and everywhere. I mean, naked, big stomach, no clothes. And this woman was saying, I don't need to do this. I'm too old for this. She was too old for it. But she said, but you need to eat. I don't have to eat. I don't want to live anymore. I'm done. I don't want to live. She said, I'm dead. She said, I don't have any life anymore. All my children are gone. I don't have any life. All my glory is gone. I'm a shame in the community. Nobody wants to see me. I'm a shame. I'm a disgrace. I've become a shame. God has disgraced me. God has decided to shame me. All my work, all my labor is gone. I'm a disgrace. I'm a shame. But because of you, Tieloju. So when I'll be stubborn, she'll be saying Tieloju. What would that mean in English? Tieloju. Yes, it's no. What would that mean? No, what is the English translation? You are just doing literal translation. Tieloju means this only about, I mean, this, what is Tieloju? Can anybody write the meaning of that? It's all about you now. It's just for you. It's just all about you. You know, so don't mess up. But I was not understanding what was happening. I was always angry that why should we be suffering so much? Why? I attempted suicide 3 times. Between the age of that 6 and 13, I attempted suicide 3 times. So I know what, you know, so there was a time that I was telling the story one time of how I came to Nigeria and my sister was begging me on her knees and saying, don't go back to the village. I don't know if you people remember that. She was begging me, please don't go back to the village. Don't go to that village. You know, you can now understand her. So, but what I was telling her, but you are a pastor. I mean, she was a pastor already. And I was saying, you know, how can you now say don't go to the village? And she was in deeper life. She was in redeemed. And I said, how can you? But you know what has happened? The memory, the injury, the tragedy that, you know, she had, you know, experienced, and she knows what we have passed through. If you go to Idomila today, you will see the tombs and the burial ground of my mother, my grandmother, that is the son, the first son, the second son, and everybody, all the family members are just beside each other right there. But to make it worse, this was 1973, right? 5 years later, you know, I'm talking about Banjoko, the person who took care of 3 of these my brothers that were left. He died. You know, he was, I mean, this Banjoko was the most prominent and the most wealthy person, not in the, now I was talking about my sister as the wealthiest person in the family. But in the village, the wealthiest person, and this is just a village of 40 houses. So just 40 houses. But it produced such prominent sons. One was Banjoko. Now, I will tell you for another one before Banjoko. Now, Banjoko was the one that was taking care of all the other children. So can you imagine if that my grandmother had needed to take care of these other 3 people that, you know, that Banjoko took care of? It would have been, she was even struggling with me. She couldn't even buy my clothes. For me to buy clothes, no, free education. That's why I will always be grateful to Awolowo, because he brought free education. But I was having free education, but still I was struggling. We needed to go 7 o'clock in the morning, go from Idomila to Ijebode with the trees on your head to hug them, to sell it, and and come back before 8 o'clock so that you quickly go to school by 8 o'clock. And then but before for me to buy a biro, I needed to work for a week, carrying every day, carrying this thing in the head. So why I couldn't read till 10? I couldn't read till 10 because each time I came back from school, I just put my trade, or the plate, or whatever they call it, slate. Yeah, slate. I put my slate down, and we would go to the bush. We are in the bush till night. I never even knew there was anything they call assignment. I never even knew how to do assignment. I needed to survive. I needed to eat. And when we wake up in the morning, 7 o'clock, I needed to take the tree, go take it to the market in Ijebode from my village, and then run back from that Idomila. From that Ijebode to Idomila. It's not far, and then go to school. So if in 1 year I only had one uniform, I couldn't change it. When it's done, I needed to work 3 months, all my holiday, every day, 3 months. Some people were going holiday trip to go to Lagos. Hey, I needed to work every day, morning, evening, 3 months to buy uniform. I needed to work a week to buy exercise book, or maybe, more. When I was finishing secondary school, we couldn't raise 50 naira to do my WAEC. Because this time, that Banjoko was dead at this time. So anyway, my mother was still alive. Another tragedy struck. The Banjoko, that was the wealthiest. He was one of the wealthiest guys in Nigeria. One of the wealthiest people in Nigeria. Do you know, let me tell you how wealthy Banjoko was. Have you ever, who is from Nigeria? Have you ever heard of, is it Julius Baga you call it? Or is it Julius Baga or Julius Beja? Beja, okay. Julius Beja. Have you ever heard of Julius Beja? That is the biggest construction engineering company in Nigeria, right? That is the biggest engineering construction company. Anything that is worth anything in Nigeria was constructed by Julius Beja. But this Banjoko guy, this man, Banjoko, he was so gifted by God. He was so smart. He was so shrewd that he was competing with Julius Baga in the 70s. How could he was the biggest indigenous engineering construction company in the whole of Nigeria. This is from Idomila. And because of him, when I was growing up, we had electricity in the village. We had road, we had water. He just did all that by himself. He didn't need to wait for government. So he was competing with Julius Berger. They were sharing 50-50 of federal government contract, Julius Berger, 50% Banjoko. I think they used to call it LAO Banjoko Unlimited or something like that. It was based in Ibadan. Anybody who was in Ibadan that time knew LAO Banjoko in the 70s. Now, this one too, and he was carrying so much load on himself, including my 3 siblings. Then, he just died. He died. Shineke. Everything just crumbled again. Now, apart from L.A. Banjoko, there was another family member who is the Oreshuse. Now, Oreshuse is the same as, Oreshuse is the same as, Oreshuse is the same as Adelaja. But just like, okay, let's say I have 3 children now, right? I have Perez, and I have Zoe and Pearl. Now, Adelaja is the father name, my father name. But when my daughter marries, she gets another name. So the sister of our grandfather, Adelaja, married Oreshuse. So still like the same family. So that Oreshuse had another one son, prominent son. There used to be a company in Nigeria those days in the 50s and 70s, 60s. It used to be called John Holt. John Holt. Now, what is John Holt? John Holt those days used to be, during the colonial colonial days and after colonial days. It used, you know, before oil, Nigeria was trading in rubber, kernel, palm oil, cocoa produce, all those produce, agriculture produce. You know the company that Nigeria was using to sell all these produce to the West? It was John Holt. So John Holt was trading in palm oil. All Nigerian palm oil was being sold by John Holt. All Nigerian palm kernel was being sold by John Knox. Rubber, cocoa, all this before oil. That one, just before the death of that's the same family claim. Yeah. So Oreshusi, he was the head of John Holt in Nigeria. He was the head of the whole thing. So he was so prominent and rich, well-to-do too. But he was a managing director, so he was not like Banjoko, who was a businessman. He built his own company. John Holt was an international, multinational company. So he was the head of it in Nigeria. But Banjoko was richer because he was the owner of the whole thing. Now, he died 1 year before all these, my three brothers died. Everybody, after Banjoko died, everybody just took off from Ijebu. Everybody just took off from Idomila. Just for you, only very few people remain in the Idomila. You know, very, very strange things. So for people to say, I don't understand witchcraft, and it's because I've been living in Europe for too long, now you can understand why my sister would not allow me to go to Idomila. So, but I told you the story already. For those people who didn't know the story, when I came back from as a student, I was already born again. Because nobody was born again in Idomila at that time. Now, it is now we are talking about being born again. That time, nobody was born again. I mean everybody was homojaijai, you know, witchcraft and, you know, so when, after the death of, all these deaths were happening, when the John Hawks guy, Oreshusi, died, and then the 3 people died in 6 months. When my mother came back from the village, from the hospital, we started, you know what she started to do? She started, even though she was an Anglican, and we were all Anglican, everybody was Anglican in that village. You know what she started to do? She started taking all of us from one Babalawo is like witch doctor, from one witch doctor to the other. So when people are talking about deliverance, and when people are talking about witchcraft and you are demon possessed, I said these are just rubbish. These ones, people who have never left Lagos, people who have never, you know, even gone to a shrine before, they are saying they are demon possessed. Everybody is just falling down, everybody is just playing rubbish. That is not demon possessed. They don't even know what is demon when they are talking, they are falling apart. So all these things that these pastors are doing, then we are talking about deliverance. Let me talk to you about deliverance. Let me talk to you about demons. Because my mother, she said I would never, because I was naive, I will never bury another child again. So she started taking, you know, other people started, her girlfriend, she had a woman in the village who said, you are stupid, you are a stupid woman. Everybody is calling you a witch now because you didn't fortify your family. You didn't fortify. That is the way our local people think. They didn't know the power of Christ, even though they were Anglicans. But in the Anglican church those days, you are just going there to do traditional, sing some hymns, and the prayers you are praying are prayers that are already written down. So we know what powerless Christianity can cost you. I know what powerless Christianity will cost you. So we were going to Anglican church, but it was powerless Christianity. But why am I also passionate against paganistic Christianity that we are practicing today? Because God has allowed me to know both powerless Christianity and to know the real Christianity, and to also see that this paganistic Christianity is not needed. Because I've been through powerless Christianity, and I know what the difference is, and I know that we can have power-filled, real Christianity without compromise. So what we have done, what Christianity that we are now having is compromise. And they are using black magic and ESP and everything to bring to Christianity. I have been to black magic. Let me tell you what my mother began to do. My mother, you know, I call her my mother, but in reality, she was my grandmother. So my mother said, I will never bury a child again. So because people started telling her, you are foolish. You see, you buried 3 children in 6 months. See, everybody is now saying you are the one who is witch. You better. So they started taking us from one herbalist home to the other, from one witchcraft house to the other. So as you see me now, they will take me, for example, I was just small, like 7 years old, 8 years old. They will take me to the house of Babalists. They will open up incision or something, they do whatever. Somebody would take a babalawo or a witch doctor would take a knife or a blade and cut like this. They say they have to do maybe 40 or 100 or 120 incisions. So they will cut me like this, cut throughout the whole head like this and put charm inside. So just for you to know that I've had an encounter with real witch. I'm talking of Ijebu witchcraft. I'm talking of Ijebu Babalawo, not in Lagos and Lagos Island Babalawo. No. Everybody comes to Ijebu. You ask. If you have been to Ijebu in Nigeria, you ask people what is Ijebu. So yes, despite that, when I received, just for you to know the power of Christ and the power of resurrection, the power of redemption. When I received the Lord Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, when I understood the gospel, when I embraced the truth of the gospel, I didn't need any deliverance. Can you imagine, after all that witchcraft has been put on my head, I still didn't need any deliverance because the word of God is true. He has carried all our curses. He has carried all our sins. He has carried all our witchcraft, everything. He has paid it. A man of sorrow. He has paid for all our suffering on the cross. But I believed it. So all these things that people are now doing, seeing demons and witchcraft everywhere. Oh, you don't even know how it pains me. And people are believing that this is Christianity. People are believing that this is God. This is the power of God moving. And it is rubbish. It's show. It's an embarrassment. We don't tell people about the power of Christ anymore. I said, despite that, the power of the gospel. Because people don't know anymore the power of redemption. So, because I understood redemption very well. I understood the power of the salvation very well. That was enough for me. Now, let's keep on going. Then they would take me to other herbalists. So one cut open my head like this and put all the, whatever in some powdered something, shams inside. Another one said, in another one, I'm not talking about the one we are taking in the mouth. Or I'm not talking about the one that they put in your hair, they put under your feet, they put under in your leg, incisions in your legs. This one went and said, bring your spine. Spine. So, no, nada. You see the spine? It will get you from the head, from the top of your head like this, and do another incision. And incision right to your down and open it up and put other shams inside. I'm not talking about that. Thank you. I'm not talking about the whatever they talk. They talk something. Incantations, yes. I'm not talking about incantations here though. And all these things are under incantations. All kind of incantations. But still, when I received Christ, when Christ came, all those things were just broken, totally defeated. You see, that's why I'm saying, if we will preach real Christ, if we will preach the real gospel, if we will preach the real salvation, that's why I say we have lost the gospel in Nigeria. We have lost the power of God, because the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ is the power of God unto salvation, unto any that will believe. The gospel is the power of God. The gospel is the power of God unto salvation to anyone that will believe. That to anyone. So incantation, I'm not talking about incantation, but let me go beyond that. Like I said, my mother, because she was an Anglican before, and she was not protected. That was her argument. Her children were not protected. And she said, this one, maybe God will return my children through, if I could able to protect this one, maybe God will give, I don't know, it will return Kola. They say, maybe Kola will come back. Maybe Demoni will come back through these ones. So she needed to fortify herself. So in the house where, because she only had one little, like I said, the house that our grandfather built was a big house. But you know what they did in the village? Because she was one room for each wife, because she had 12 wives. So with all your children that you have, 7 or 9 of them, you are only in one room. But this was good because she was all the children were gone. So I was the only one with her. So in that room now, after she came back from that hospital and that experience, she now brought an idol. What do you call it? What do you call it in Yoruba language? An image? Image. A statue. Yeah, a statue. Image. Because they told her, you have to be appeasing that, the gods, yes. You have to be appeasing the god. This is apart from the god the family was now watching. So we went back to, everybody remember, because they were saying when our grandfather was alive, that these tragedies were not happening. And the god of our family was Ogun. Is it Ogun or Ogun? Something like that. Ogun, I think. Yeah, Ogun was the iron, the god of iron. That is what our family was doing. So the god of iron one, we were doing it as a family just behind the house, going to pour, the oil and the yam and all that. But this other one is Shigidi. This other one was another one. This one was just in my own mother, because all the tragedy was happening around her. So she put it in the corner of the room. And I will be sleeping on the floor right here. And will be anytime anybody is sick or any danger is happening, they have to go and pour oil on the head of that thing in my room, right there in my room. So when people are talking about witchcraft, I say, hey, deliverance. What kind of, me, and I lived in that room with that jigidi, with that area or whatever, effigy. Yeah, is it effigy you call it in English? I think it's effigy, yeah. I lived with that effigy in the same house. We are breathing in the same air with that effigy like that. I was looking at it every day. I mean, looking at it, and just wondering, is this, I didn't even know what was happening. So I was living in the same house with this thing, and I didn't need deliverance after the gospel was preached to me. After understand gospel, I didn't need any deliverance. No demon came out of me. And the thing was put inside my head, inside my spine, inside everybody. Inside everywhere. And I didn't need it. So what kind of deliverance are you talking about? So that's why I say it is not so easy for evil spirit, for people to be demon possessed. Even if you are an idol worshiper, it's still not easy. You need incision. Is it incision you call it? You need to be initiation. You need initiation to have demon coming to you. Satan doesn't just come into you like that. You need to be initiated. You need to accept, just like you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. So also you need to accept, to receive a demon inside of you. It's not easy. In fact, you have to even qualify. It's not easy. So when people are just saying they are doing deliverance every day, it is rubbish. It is just confusing everybody. Like I said, there are 2 different kind of satanic operations on people. Number 1 is that Satan comes to attack you. What happened in our own family that Satan attacked us? But that doesn't mean that we are demon possessed. And that's why my mother died a depressed woman, my grandmother, because she was under attack, satanic attack. She lost 3 prominent children in 6 months. People were saying she was demon possessed. People were calling her witch. Because people don't know the difference. People think that if all these things are happening to her, that we were bewitched. We were bewitched, yes? But that means you are under attack, under satanic attack, but that doesn't mean that you are the carrier of evil spirit. It is other people or other forces that are using evil spirit to destroy you. You are the victim. And we are supposed to be standing on the side of the victim. But in my country, even in churches now, they make you look as if you are the one that is demon possessed. You are the one that needs deliverance. So there are 3 operations of Satan. 1 is Satan's attack, satanic attack. Satanic attack is like you are standing there and attack is coming against you, throwing things at you. Yeah. So you are the victim. So this is the first operation of Satan, and Satan attacks all of us. I've already given you, and I finished it yesterday, 7 greatest weapons of satanic attacks. Now, satanic attack is not always killing you or, or making you to die. That is the last level, because Satan comes to steal first, to kill. And kill doesn't mean to kill physically. It's destroy that then kills. It might kill your potential. It might kill your promises. I mean, your potential, your ability. It might kill your, that is, it comes to steal, kill, and destroy. It is the destroying level that it destroys you. So those are just attacks. Now, that is the first level of Satan's operation. The second level of Satan's operation is oppression. So oppression is a demon is attached to you, not just to attack you from the distance, but a demon is attached to you to be on you. So that demon will be suppressing you like this. That demon will be suppressing you. So you will be having bad mood, but you will not know how to find. You will not have clarity in your mind. You are losing projection. You are losing direction. He's just oppressing you. Depression, oppression. Now that is the second level, or the second nature of satanic operation. Now, so that is also not possession, even though that, even if you look at her in the spirit, you will see a demon sitting on her shoulder like this, or on her head like this, or coming to sit on her and oppressing her. But that doesn't mean that she is demon possessed as well. That is just demonic oppression. And there is a difference between all these things. So when you bring people who might be under demonic oppression like this, and and they put them in, those people are normally have some people might have intense one, and they have mental situation or psychiatric situation, and we put them in the hospital, in psychiatric hospital and things like that, and we say they are they are demon possessed. But because it's just under oppression, not everybody that is in psychiatric hospital or having mental situation is demon possessed. Most of them are not demon possession, they are demon oppression. It's oppression in the mind. It's oppression. So that's why when they take them to the hospital, they can heal them. They can cure them. They can make them to stop hearing the voices. Even people who hear voices, that doesn't mean it's inside of them. It could be on their shoulder, on just oppressing them by talking to them. That's why they could heal hallucination or what they call it. Hallucination could be healed by doctors and things like that, because it is from outside. But demon possession is another ball game altogether. Demon possession is when you are initiated into the whole thing. You are initiated, you give up your will and receive the evil spirit to come and indwell in you. So when people are now saying that Christians are demon possessed, every day you go to church, pastors want to cast out demon from choir members. Every day you go to church, they want to cast out demons from either choir members or usher group. Everywhere they want to cast out demon every day. People have been coming to church every day. Oh, they didn't have demon. Now she said, "Oh, I have problem." She's now we have a demon possessed. Someone has been in that choir for ages. Oh, no demon. But it does that. I don't have children, or I have miscarriage. Now they have a demon again. So the kind of gospel, the way people preach the gospel these days, is just discrediting God. Now, so what about the question of can Christians be demon possessed? Let me say, it is possible somebody that calls himself Christian could be demon possessed, but let me tell you on the occasion that it could happen. For somebody to say is a Christian and demon possessed, let me tell you what has to happen. For that person to be demon possessed means you have been initiated into witchcraft or into communion or fellowship with demons of spirits, and you have to willingly surrender your will and yourself under the dominion and superiority of those demons, just like you surrendered your heart to Christ. So for you to have gone to that extent, you have to first of all turn your back intentionally at Christ, and Knowingly now say, I'm now receiving this evil spirit as my Lord and Savior, as my to come and live in me. Now, can people still have that and come to church? If they are really subtle or evil, they could do that. But it is on rare occasion for someone who is really born again, who loves God, who has personal relationship. One has to go out before another one comes in. That's what I'm trying to say. You understand what I'm saying? One has to come in and for another one. So, and most people who are demon possessed, they cannot stay where there is real anointing of God. Believe me. For example, anywhere I come into now, if anybody is demon possessed there, or I'm not talking about people who are oppressed, or that is different. But if Satan is living inside you, as soon as I appear anywhere, it has happened in Holland, in Amsterdam, it has happened in Belarus, it has happened in Ukraine, anywhere it has happened in Africa, it has happened in America, it has happened in Latin America, in Mexico, anywhere I go, it has happened in Australia. I don't even need to know anything. I'm not even aware. I just come. Anybody that they begin to check by themselves. And once I just say, in the name of Jesus, come out of her. 2 seconds, they just come out and they're okay. So all this show that people are now doing in the church, to 1 hour casting out of demons, for everybody rolling up and down, and I don't understand though. These people are just making a mess and a show of the gospel, and I don't know what they are doing. So remember that there are 3 levels of Satan's attack. One is attack, just attack like this, like he attacks all of us. And I've already spoken on the 7 greatest weapons of his attack. Number 2 is oppression, demonic oppression. Number 3 is demon possession. And the demon possession is very rare. There are places where it's common, but it is not easy. Satan cannot just come and possess you without you knowing. That's what I'm saying. Satan cannot just come and possess you and you are not even aware. Satan's possession happens just like Jesus' possession happens. Like, for example, for Jesus to come and live in your heart, you need to accept him as your Lord and Savior. You need to, open up to him. The same thing with Satan. For Satan to come into you, he will not just come without your will. God has given everybody a free will. Even God himself will not violate that will. Even God himself cannot just come to your heart without your knowledge. God doesn't behave like that. Even Satan cannot behave like that. That's why when Satan came in Genesis chapter 3, he had to talk to Eve first. Is it true that God said this? Without a permission, without convincing her first, he cannot have any free will like that. He cannot just come and make her do anything. He has to get your will to cooperate and to accept. That is how Satan could come into you. And Satan cannot just come into anybody like that, because you have to go through a process. And it's a complex process for you to be demon possessed. So for people to be saying because you had a dream and you had a sex scenario or sex dream and a sexual something dream, and then they are saying you have Mami water spirit, give that pastor a dirty slap. Maybe not physically, but let him know that you are not such a fool. And for somebody to say, okay, because you cannot have children, then it means you have husband, spiritual husband. Give the ignorant pastor a dirty, just chase him out of town. So a lot of things that pastors are now doing is just a disgrace. It's just a disgrace.